This is your news source evening bulletin for Wednesday, the 27th day of June in the year 2018. Here's what we're tracking tonight. More drama unfolded at the Guyana Public Service Credit Union on Hatfield Street this morning as the police had to be called in when management refused to open the gate and doors to be served with a court order. That order has quashed the injunction that was earlier obtained by the credit union's management against the takeover of the credit union by a government-appointed management committee. The police arrived and allowed the officials of the co-op department to gain access to the building, as the manager's secretary was asked to leave.
And the fact of the matter is
Sir,
that
I'm out the building. I'm out the building.
I don't care where you are.
I'm just asking to be lenient with her. I know it's your problem. I don't have a problem either.
Alright.
I know it's your problem. I do you something.
You don't even know me.
I don't want to know you either, but I do you something. So I come out there, you have asked. I'm just asking for the lenient for the security guard to go.
I heard you.
Okay,
Please leave.
we cannot allow her to leave because we cannot override the police decision, but in due time we will ask that.
Ousted Manager Secretary Trevor Ben. Meanwhile, the Chief Cooperatives Development Officer told news source that with the court throwing out the injunction, she was there to ensure that the management committee is given full access to the credit union and all its records.
The previous committee of management, which consists of Chairman Ms. Wendt and Secretary Manager Mr. Ben, they filed an injunction and they were granted. And so we went to the court to defend that injunction and we won it yesterday. And so there's an order that the injunction be discharged, and now we hear back to take over.
Last month, the Co-op department appointed the interim management committee after several questions surfaced about the lack of accountability at the Public Service Credit Union and other financial problems. Officials of the board of the credit union had objected to the move, but have now found themselves being forced to face questions about large spending on travel and other expenses. Thousands of public servants make contributions to the credit union and also benefit from its various credit programs. While residents of Georgetown are being promised a more reliable power supply accompanied by a reduction in power outages when a new energy management system comes on stream in 2020. The governments of Guyana and the governments of Japan today signed a grant aid agreement that will see the introduction of renewable energy and the improvement of the power system in Georgetown. The objective of the project is to improve efficiency of the power system by enhancing substation equipment and distribution lines in the city of Georgetown.
There has been extensive cooperation between Japan and the people of Guyana, and that cooperation assistance has spanned a variety of areas: technical cooperation, finance and investment cooperation, as well as grant assistance.
Japan and the Cooperative Republic of Guyana have long enjoyed and benefited from friendly relations. Last year, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries. So today's ceremony adds yet another chapter to our robust relations.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Guyana Power and Light Company, Albert Gordon, is confident that a new system will help the power company to reduce the number of outages. With several projects geared towards this, Gordon explained that a new project will help the cause.
For GPL, our top priority, as we said, is to reduce the outages, and we have a number of initiatives. This particular project will help, both in terms of improving reliability and reducing losses, also improving voltage levels, and so on. So, yes, this will help, but it's part of a larger set of projects that we're implementing, so we are getting support from other areas, which you'll be hearing a bit more about later on.
The project is being executed at a cost of $16.5 million. It is expected that by 2023, transmission loss will be greatly reduced thanks to the new system. And Japan also made its first donation of over 4,700 LED street lamps to the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. It will donate more than 6,000 more. Minister Annette Ferguson was on hand to receive that donation, which comes at a cost of $1.3 million. The minister said areas throughout the regions have been identified for the installation process to begin, providing lighting to several communities, many of which were without street lights for several years. The government of Guyana has welcomed the decision of the Caribbean Court of Justice to uphold the government's application to set aside the local court's ruling on the presidential term limit. In its ruling, the Caribbean Court of Justice found that the amendments to the Guyana Constitution back in 2001, which effected the presidential term limits, were properly done. The appeal was taken to the CCJ by the government after local courts had ruled that it was unconstitutional for the National Assembly to limit the number of times a person could be elected president of Guyana. The government believes the decision by the court was a win for democracy. Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu.
It means that our Constitution should be respected. It means that our Constitution is the instrument by which we should be guided. It means that we should respect the efficacy of our judicial system and not ascribe motives of bias and racism.
The presidential term limit decision has also been welcomed by former President Donald Ramotar. He too said it was a win for Guyana. However, former President Barrett Jagdeo, who is the current opposition leader, called a press conference yesterday to say that he will now work harder to ensure that the PPP Civic wins the next election, with whoever as its presidential candidate. He said he will play a big role in choosing that candidate.
That at the appropriate time, the PPP will elect a presidential candidate or select a presidential candidate. This will be done by the People's Progressive Party.
Mr. Jagdeo is the only former president who is directly affected by the court's decision, since he's the only one who would have served 2 terms in office. He cannot run again for president. Legal minds also believe that he's also barred from seeking the office of Prime Minister under the same constitutional changes. It was under the PPP Civic government that a restriction on seeking a 3rd term was introduced and unanimously supported in the National Assembly. However, just before the last elections, an unknown man in the name of Cedric Richardson filed a case challenging the presidential term limit. The local courts sided with him, and that resulted in the CCJ becoming the next stop to make that final decision. Finally, this evening in the courts, 2 weeks after being slapped with fraud charges, a real estate agent was back in court today, facing 5 additional fraud charges. He's being accused of selling land that he did not own or was not authorized to sell. 22-year-old Basdir Persad stood before Magistrate Fabio Azor and denied all 5 charges when they were read to him. The court was told that he obtained a sum of $60,000 as part payment for a plot of land in Georgetown. He also allegedly collected a sum of $260,000 from one Rahene Persad in January by falsely pretending that he was in position to grant him a plot of land. It is also alleged that the same accused also collected a sum of $50,000, $400,000, and another $50,000 for plots of land that he does not own. The man was already on bail on the initial charges and was today granted bail again on the new charges. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.